Good morning, everybody. I'm back with Cannon Biggs. He has offered to evaluate the lackluster play that I put up earlier this week against Dineeth, who was playing THICC with my Grey Knights. He was looking at the VOD and sending me all kinds of hints and tips, and then he said, do you want to just make this a video? And I said yes, and here we are. So quick aside, we've never done anything like this, so there's going to be some hiccups, but I think overall this is going to be very interesting. So thank you, Cannon, for agreeing to do this.
Thanks for having me on, man. We're gonna learn together.
Hell yeah. So really quick, I know a lot of you probably haven't seen the VOD yet, so I'm just going to quickly go over the list. Mine is Grey Knights, 5 Dread Knights, 25 Interceptors, 1 Strike Squad, and 3 squads of Servitors. I've got all of my Dread Knights except 1 in my Sword Bearers detachment, and then I have everything else in Prescient Brethren that would fit. Then the THICC list is right here. It's in the description down below. I am no Druhkari expert, as you can see from my play, but if I remember right, he brought a Real Space Raid. He's got some Cabal of the Black Heart with his Racks and Witches in it, and then he's got a ton of grotesques, all of which have and Taloses, all of which are super high toughness, high wound, and they have -1 damage. So we'll see how well that goes in the game.
Spoiler alert, not too well.
It goes not well, yeah. So spoilers, it goes 100 to 26 and I lose. All right.
No, but honestly, I mean, this is cool because I feel like you learn more from losing a game than you do from just, winning or stomping somebody. So,
oh, absolutely.
Hopefully anyone watching gets a little bit of something out of this and maybe change, how they play a little bit, or some tips and tricks. But we're just gonna have fun. So.
Hell yeah, man. Okay, so I'm up. We've finished, or we haven't started deployment yet on this screen. Dineeth and I are currently picking secondaries, and this is where I already made a big mistake. I went into this, I was talking this through with Dineeth, and I couldn't figure out which secondaries I wanted. What's on the screen right now is not what I finally ended up with, but I originally was gonna take Raise the Banners High, Grind Them Down, and Psychic or Purifying Ritual. I picked Grind Them Down because I was just at a loss for ideas for what to pick. So it was basically between Rod, Engage, and Grind Them Down. I quickly figured out Grind Them Down wasn't ever going to be a thing that I could really do. You can't do that against this list at all. It's kind of like one of my go-to picks now against other armies, but against THICC, that's just not possible. You can't kill them fast enough.
No, old Druhkari, you're just like easy grind them down. You're gonna get 15 on that. This is like, nah, you'll kill some like little rack units and stuff here and there to secure grind early on in the game. But once you have to actually fight into these Talos and Grotesque, it's like they're gonna be picking up more than you're picking up.
Yeah, for sure. They hit like trucks, and you can't kill them. They get like advance and charge. It's just. Which means they're fast. It's just, oh hey.
Harassed.
I got Sylvie up there eating right now. You may see the new kitten here soon, but
oh, you got a new kitten?
Yeah, I got a new orange one. He's around here somewhere. His name is Loken. Which I know you're not a lore nerd, but that is a Warhammer name.
From 30K, from Horus Heresy.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, Garviel Loken. So I guess you are a little bit of lore nerd at least.
I used to know how to read at some point, but
Oh man, so many comments I could make. Um, so,
yeah, let's go over. So, what your thought process should be before going into the game? So, if you want to like pull up on screen, maximize the board. We've kind of talked about the list. So, for the viewers who are not familiar with this thick city, um, basically it's maximizing this coven that you can take for -1 damage and then putting it on really beefy units like grotesque, talos, and chronos, um, and it just the math just becomes so crazy to try to kill them, where something like gray knights that typically don't have trouble picking up anything actually struggle into this. It is a very tough matchup for sure. But I think if anyone can do it, it's probably Grey Knights.
nope, I think we're losing you.
Say you at a tournament game, like you walk up, this is the table layout, this is your opponent's army. You guys have had your back and forth and trying to figure out like, hey, like what do you do? What does your army do? That kind of thing. So right off the bat, you'll notice in your deployment zone, the way the L's are shaped, and then the center little obscuring terrain.
Yeah.
They have a lot of stuff to
These
hide
three right
behind,
here.
but on your left side, there's more obscuring. So the deployment's mirrored. But
Yeah.
on your right side, that ruin doesn't really cover much as far as potential shooting lines of fire. Um, well, actually, I'm jumping ahead a little bit for
No,
deployment
it's
purposes. But so
I'm at
you're
timestamp 210 so that everybody can kind of see the board right now.
yeah.
Trying to make it so that people can follow along. I unfortunately did not when I filmed this, I didn't realize I'd be doing a recap, so I didn't take as many shots. Oh, hey, there's Loken right there.
All right, buddy.
He's trying to crawl up there. Anyway, yeah, I didn't take super good like long shots of the whole board, but this right here, it's a long edge deployment. I can't remember which mission this was. So this is what Cannon's talking about, and if you can imagine, if you see on this road that kind of goes through the middle, the deployment zone is basically on this side of that road. So all three of these ruins and part of both of these objectives are actually in my deployment zone.
Yeah. Dawn of War style, 6 objectives. Yeah, I jumped ahead a little bit. Let's go to the secondary. So you have a six objective mission. So right off the bat, you're just thinking purifying ritual, because you got 3 of those in your deployment zone essentially, which should be in theory an easy 15, as it usually is, unless you get tabled.
Should be, unless this happens.
Yeah, without a doubt. So second requires a little bit of matchup knowledge. He's probably going to take Herd the Prey because it's a very good Druhkari secondary.
Yeah, and he does.
So, yeah, he does. And Engage is a good counterplay to that. I know it's kind of tough sometimes trying to finagle like putting models back there without just losing like units for 2 points, 3 points a turn.
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow for sure.
Yeah, we'll kind of walk through on different ways you can do that, but I think Engage is definitely the play here. The third one is tricky. So like I think you correctly identified, there's no way you can get grind here. For more than 6 points maybe. So now you have the option of Rod. Bring It Down's not terrible, but I don't like it here because he's not running the full 12 6 and 6 split of Talos and Chronos.
Yeah, these Talos, I think we discussed it in the matchup, and these Talos are only worth like 1 point each. And the amount of firepower, I mean, one group of 3 in turn 1 took every single Dread Knight. Well, 4 out of the 5, and only 1 was and one lived at like 2 wounds remaining. It was an almost a wipe, but it wasn't a full wipe. So that would have only been worth 3 points if I'd got that whole unit. It's not really a super great pick. So again, I apologize for these bad views, but on the screen here is when Dineeth and I were picking our secondaries. I specifically changed up this list to include servitors to do raise the banners and hold my backfield objectives while I push up with the rest of my army. So I grabbed banners, which is great on a 6 objective mission usually. And then I did Purifying Ritual, obviously, for the reasons that Cannon just laid out. And then my third and final pick was, in fact, Engage on all fronts.
Okay, so let's talk about the banners thing, because typically banners is pretty damn good here. It does require 2 units to be on the essentially, because you need one to raise the banners and one to do the psychic action for Purifying Ritual.
Yes.
But it's pretty damn good. The issue is that army just pushes into you and just wipes you off the objectives. So you can't really kind of create a foothold onto 2 to 3 objectives, because he pushes into you. You don't want to just go head to head with this guy. Like, you need to space out, kind of kite him, isolate units, kill them, and then just kind of, you can rotate the board, which happens in a lot of matchups with Grey Knights. But it's weird because with THICC City, it almost feels like a lot of the time you just flip deployment zones.
Yeah,
when you're playing against them, because they push into you, and then in response, you're just going to go push into their backfield. It's weird, man. It's a tough cookie to crack, but I definitely would not have taken banners. Okay. I feel like Rod probably was the safer pick.
Yeah, I could have. That's actually a good point, because I could have actually put all 3 of my servitor squads can go into Deep Strike for 1 CP, because each one is less than 2 PL, or each one is 2 PL, which is less than 9, which would require more CP. So I could have actually put these guys in Deep Strike. They've got small little footholds, and I know this won't be a play here with Retrieve Nockmund data, but for Rod, it's perfect, because you drop them down in the backfield. They've got a tiny, like, it's easy to place them in small holes, and then they can rod. So I didn't. Yeah, that's a great point. So what you're saying is I probably ought to have done Purifying Ritual, Rod, and Engage?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, you can do that.
Okay.
Did you just say put Rod in small holes?
Yeah, I did. Okay, it's a cool sexual innuendo.
I see. I pick up what you're putting down.
Well, it'll be Rand in small holes soon. Or will you be Randing in big holes?
You never know.
Well, you need 5 models now, right?
What's up?
I mean, with Retrieve Nockmund's data, you're gonna need 5 models, right? And it's troops to guarantee that it actually goes off.
Yeah.
Yeah. 5 models of troops.
Well, I see. From the secondary changes. Actually, hold on. Let me show this real quick.
Your pants?
My pants.
Oh yeah, I should let our viewers know. Cannon was actually at the event where Games Workshop was showing off the new secondaries and the new missions. And you played in the exhibition match with your Genestealer cults, right? And you got absolutely crushed by some melee crons.
Yeah, that was brutal. And then my buddy Jack's Blood Angels list. It was it was fun, I guess. I don't know. Both my opponents were just awesome people. Everyone at the event was awesome. And I ended up getting best overall for the whole open series. Had a great game against Sasha, and I was Black Templars. So it was just a cool event. But we got these cool holographic new secondary cards. Not to show.
Ooh, holographic.
Did a good job.
Yeah,
stuff.
That's cool.
Did a great job with the whole event. So
you got some fancy shiny swag.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I mean, I was like kind of making the joke of like how big of a flex it would be to like walk up to a table and just put like 3 of these down. Like, yeah, these are my secondaries. What's up?
I mean, you got to make sure your opponent knows what they're looking at, right? It'd be like, ooh, some foil cards. Congratulations.
Exactly. So the Nachman data doesn't affect us as much unless you're trying to do it with servitors. So the way that the new secondary version of this works, you roll a dice, and if the dice equals to or is lower than the model count in that unit, the action will go off, and so now you have a chance to fail.
Right.
But if it's a 5-man and it's a troop unit, it does not fail because you get -1 to the roll. Characters and bikers can do this now.
Well, you get
So
+1 to your threshold, right? So if it's troops with 5, you get +1, which means as long as 5 models are left, you have to roll a 6 or lower, which is obviously going to go off. But if you start to lose models, you're really relying on that like +1
on that dice roll, yeah, exactly. It doesn't affect us as much though because there's certain factions that have like cheap bikers that makes this way better. Like it was supposed to be a nerf,
like Gene
but something
Stealer
like Gene
cults.
Stealer Cult with like yeah, with the jackals or like Dark Angels with like a 5-man biker squad, Orc Speedwog, that kind of stuff. Um, and you put the 5-man out, and then you can get that really hard table quarter turn 1 or 2. Um, but what I really like is deploy teleport hammers. Let me see
Yeah, I
what
saw it got changed to like it's at the end of your turn now or something. Oh no, that's
no,
whatever the
it
thing
is.
is in the middle. I don't remember what it is.
So
Warp
investigate
ritual.
signal. Or, oh,
Is it warp
what ritual?
ritual?
No. It should be investigate signal.
Okay.
Where it works now. So essentially, the way that one used to work is if your opponent had any models in the center at the start of your turn, like you couldn't complete the action.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can do the action and kill them off, and then you'll get the points.
Yeah, at the end.
But
That's right.
teleport numbers is pretty cool because you start an action, and if you're within 12 inches of your deployment zone, you get 2 points. The action's completed the command phase unless it's a troop unit, and then it's 4 points if you do it wholly within your opponent's deployment zone, which is really interesting on something like a vital intel where it's corners deployment.
Yeah, and
Or
they're super close together.
yeah, where you can gate like a 5-man strike squad into your opponent's deployment zone. That's just 4 points.
Yeah. Well,
so
doesn't it happen at the end of your, or you have to declare it at the start of your command phase, or is it at the end of your movement phase?
End of the movement phase. So deep
Yeah,
strike.
so you can't gate. You could deep strike, or you could use interceptors. They are fast as hell.
Yeah, but then okay, so that would end at the opponent or the start of your turn.
I like how we're supposed to be talking about this game, and now we're just on the new secondaries. No, I mean it's a good talk, but yeah. All right, so we've gone over my secondaries were bad, like that. I was probably already losing this game before it started, and then where do you want to skip into next? So looks like we're getting some viewers in here too. So if any of you have any questions for either of us, it doesn't have to be about this match. Throw them into the comments and we'll answer them. But go ahead.
Preferably silly questions. So now we're in the stage deployment.
Dumb questions only.
Yeah, dumb questions only. Okay, yeah. So now it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. So you notice the deployment zones or the deployment terrain is symmetrical, but 2 of the terrain pieces really incentivize shooting, and it makes it a little bit harder to hide. So your opponent's the top left has a really short L, and then your bottom right has a short L. So right away, I'm thinking like, hey, I want guns going down that left side because it's really, really hard for him to hide. These little rack units, talus units, and all that stuff.
Trying to jump
right
ahead
side
the show.
Yeah.
There. Okay. Here we go. That's pretty perfect right there. So here's the deployment Actually, yep. I think this is the full deployment here. So.
Okay, yeah. If you just want to skip to give me a timestamp to where it looks fully
Oh,
deployed.
2441.
Okay.
Apologies again to everybody out there. This is their first time trying this, so probably should have sent each other some timestamps before, but
No, we're good. I'm already here. All right, so that's the final deployment. Do you have the redeploy gem in your list?
yes, I always take foretelling of Locust. It's a crutch, man. Like
It's so
I
good.
it's a crutch for me because I deploy like an idiot half the time, so I'm like, I don't know what to do with these last 2 units. I'll just put them here, and then I can
Yeah.
like hide them or throw them up or whatever with with Locust. It's so good for me.
So good. And it's really cool in the matchups where like your opponent can be aggressive really quickly. And if they go first, you're screwed. So you can deploy very defensively. And if you go first, hey, I'm just going to pop these 3 units up.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Game. So regardless of the redeploy, so it looks like he realized where his obscuring is in the top right, where he
Yep.
has most of his racks, his talos, and stuff like that. You can kind of just deploy interceptors in the center. I would like, just looking at this, 2 dread knights on the right side just to keep him honest,
Uh-huh.
and 3 on the left. You could even kind of
Like
lull him into
like far
not
left and far right, or
far right, like so right at the objective,
yeah, so over here.
over here, and then 3 on the left side. Now you don't need to do that right away in deployment. You can set up where you can just put all your dread knights on the right side, right? So he thinks you're just, hey, I'm gonna camp out here, and this is where I'm gonna choose my fight.
Yeah.
But when you go first or second, you can move 3 of the dread knights over, as long as they're not characters. So
Right.
it's little deployment tricks that you can kind of play around with.
Is that
But
a
essentially,
is that
yeah.
necessarily like a super great play though? Because my list has 2 tech marines in it, so I put at least one of each dread knight next to, like, I had one tech marine right down here, kind of right in the middle to
Mhm.
buff this dread knight here, and then I had one right here to buff this dread knight here. I was counting on like shunt and things like that to move stuff around.
Yep.
I think at the end of deployment, I actually just moved some of these guys up just a little, just a hair. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, I don't know, because I think I ended up
So I
going
mean,
first. Yeah, here
if
we
he's
go.
paying attention or not, you can put tech marines not next to a dread knight, and then redeploy, move the dread knight over there. It's just like little deployment tricks. I don't think it matters too much here. He's just going to drop all his meat down on the table on his deployment zone and go from there. But so essentially, what he's looks like he's trying to do is rotate the board on the right side,
Okay.
which means you're going to have to rotate the board on the left side, which works for you because that's where your open shooting lanes and stuff are at.
I see.
Um, so
Uh,
that's where you're gonna mold your game plan from. Now, the key thing is I like 2 dread knights on the right just to keep him honest, because you want to slow him down from rotating the board faster than you. That's
right.
typically when you lose in that scenario. Um, you're taking engaged. So right off the bat, looking at your deployment, um, you're fairly safe because he doesn't have very much shooting, and the Talos are only 18 inches on their guns,
Yeah.
and then 8 inches for movement. He can't advance and shoot. So turn one, he's probably not going to expose himself, just for some pop shots, heat land shots. Um, so
Which,
hold on, I'm going to try to
yeah. So,
explain this the best I can.
okay,
But
that's cool. Because we actually have a viewer comment. So Lucas is saying that they don't understand how anybody can enjoy playing on TTS, and Lucas, I obviously prefer it in person too, but it is a little hard for me to have an in-person game with Dineeth because he lives in Australia. and I live in the United States, so it's a bit of a commitment financially and time-wise to actually go play with him in person. So this is it's a great tool to work on your fundamentals, but yeah, I wouldn't want to spend 3 days playing 3 games each day in TTS. It's just awkward enough, right? Like trying to grab 12 dice is just like a nightmare. Like clicking and dragging, and yeah,
the elephant in the room. Like I'm a solid tournament player, but like when I get to TTS, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense at all.
No, it's
I feel like I'm
definitely
significantly worse on TTS than I am in person.
yeah. I mean the like in-person aspect is definitely at least half, if not more, of the reason that I play this game. So this is just a learning tool. That's all this was.
Yeah. Cool, man. So you do all right. So I'm looking at your final positioning here, and it kind of looks. I know it's like harder to manage on TTS, but it kind of looks like you're a little bit all over the place. I don't. It doesn't look like you have like a really solid game plan on how like you want to go forward, just based on how things are positioning.
Yeah.
And I think when I'm not hopefully I'm not knocking you at all. I'm trying to be
Oh
as
no.
constructive as
No,
possible.
you can be more mean if you want.
More mean.
I'm fine, man. I went through elementary school as a stutterer who was poor. Like, don't worry about it. I've got thick skin, man. So my general game plan, and this is a problem I have just overall, is I have a game plan to finish my secondaries. Usually I was a little off, like on the back foot here, having bad ones. But my game plan here was to try to minimize the amount of threat that he could like project to me onto turn or his turn 1, and my goal was to try to kill these 3 Talos in his in that heavy cover or dense in the dense back there. That was my whole turn 1 plan, and to blast up some interceptors up into his table quarter for 2 on the left side. That's my whole game plan for turn 1. So
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Because you did take banners. So you didn't need to be super heavy on the push. He's not going to go into you on turn 1. You obviously you don't want to take too many random heat lances for free. I guess we'll fast forward here in a second to your final positioning after turn 1. Because I believe you went first, right?
I did, yeah. So let me go ahead and jump forward.
Well,
let me see if I can. Well, you want me to go there, or?
Yeah, we can go there. So this is your deployment. Like I said, I would have liked 3 Dread Knights on the left, which I think you kind of have.
No,
right?
I have 1 on the left, or 2 on the left, and 3 on the right. I move up.
Right.
I give these both the Awakened Machine Spirit. I push them up. I'm trying to get like a firing line here into the Talos. I think I end up with 4 out of the 5 being able to actually shoot. God, these like first turns take forever. I tried to move these interceptors up here to try to screen from any charges. Because at my first RTT, I got my ass just absolutely beat in 2 out of my 3 games because I pushed my Dread Knights too far up like a total noob. Yeah, I got hammered in those games. Trying to find the end of turn 1 here, but I'll just jump ahead quite a bit.
Well, I'll just chit chat in the meantime.
Here we go. So he's already starting to move up, so this is clearly the start of his turn 1, but you can see where I've moved everybody for my turn 1 here.
This is final positioning. All right, so here's the thing. So it's all about, a lot of this is you don't know the matchup.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
you beat this. You have to kill his OBSEC. He doesn't have a ton of OBSEC. You have to kill his OBSEC and his action monkeys because he took banners, right? You have to find a way to create a point differential, because I'm not going to try to get too big brain on this, but essentially he's probably going to get 15 on a Boar the Witch.
Yeah.
He's probably going to get anywhere from 12 to 15 on Herd the Prey. And then those are kind of hard to counter. I think you want to create your point differential on the banners portion of it. Where if we talked about this, so turn one, if you gate and shunt on that left side where the dense cover is, and
Yeah,
you
back
just
in here.
pick up his action monkeys, his OBSEC. I don't believe he's going to be able to raise banners turn one if you do that.
Because he'll need to either decide to do it with the grotesques or move out with his grotesques and say, screw it, I won't get banners. For everybody viewing, back here on this top left is where Dineeth had his Cabalite warriors and a blob of grotesques, which you can just see on the screen here. He had moved out onto this objective. And then back here, he had a bunch of racks, and I don't remember what else. Oh, some more grotesques. So what Cannon is saying is I could have dropped on this left side dense terrain for a little bit of shooting protection with a shunt or a gate from one of my Dread Knights, and if I shoot these Cabalite warriors, because I was going first, then he needs to decide whether he's going to waste his grotesque's turn putting up a banner or come out and fight me. The dents here would give me shooting and charge protection because it is +2 to be charged. So, and then I would have also been getting myself 2 points for engage. So already that's some pretty decent feedback.
I mean, that's huge. I mean, that play itself can literally decide the game. I know it's like you see these big, meaty Talos and grotesque units, and you're just like, okay, walk forward, kill.
Shoot. Yeah, but I want to reiterate again that on my turn one, I shot at a 3-man Talos that was back in this dense, and I killed four Dread Knights, two characters, and I think 2 of the buffed ones. So they're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. Oh, and one of my big misplays was actually I didn't get the Grandmaster or the Dread Knight in range that had the Brotherhood +1 to wound power in range, because that's such a short range power that I got off the +1 to damage, but not the +1 to wound. Because the +1 on damage is an 18-inch range, right? But the +1 to wound is 12, or do I have that exactly backwards?
I think they might both be 12, but you have access to 1 CP, extend the range by 6.
Yeah, but I think the Grandmaster got in range was the one that was from Prescient Brethren, so they don't have that power, or else I would have just cast 2 and then spent 1 to extend range, and then spent 1 more to do 3d6 to cast. So
so the issue again, it's not knowing the matchup. Like mathematically, if you don't get both +1 to wound and +1 damage off, you're not gonna kill that unit, especially if it's in dense cover.
Yeah.
You're giving up positioning. Like turn one, it should be all about creating positioning advantages, and you walking 3 Dread Knights up into range where he can get some free shots, or maybe some potential charges and stuff. Kill maybe 1 or 2 models.
Yeah, I think your audio is
And,
cutting out pretty bad, man. Oh, cannon. There we go. Technical difficulties. Oh yeah. Now is a great time if anybody has any questions to throw them in to chat. But
let me take a quick tap.
ooh, I'm in double.
Lovely sunny South Florida.
Anyway, I want to remind everybody that this was a learning experience. Cannon is a GT winning player, and so he has offered his time to go ahead and pick apart my horrible play into my first game into THICC City.
It's not a horrible play. It was you see the glimpses of greatness there.
You have to understand that my favorite type of humor is self-deprecating. So
okay, I'll let you do that. Okay, so the ideal scenario here is turn 1, you gate and shunt into that little dense cover. You pick up his action monkeys, but now you got to start thinking ahead. Like, what does the next turn look like? Now you're sending stuff that way, right? So he's going to have to respond and send Grotesque, Talos, in position to threaten them the following turn.
right.
Now you can do one of two things. You can either abandon that position the following turn and just continue to play the game, and just more passively, right? Maybe leave a unit for engage. Or you can stage your interceptors along that wall on the left side to project threat and response. Because if he goes behind obscuring, your Dread Knights are not going to be able to shoot at him or charge to the wall to kill them.
Right.
So maybe let him know that, like, if you push this way to respond to this, here's my threat. So he might reconsider pushing that side hard or make bad decisions and split his forces in, a detrimental way to him. So that's essentially, it sounds complicated, but it's really not. You just needed to do 2 things that turn, or 3 things.
Okay.
Just have ample units to do banners, purifying ritual, create the deficit on banners, or make poor decisions on banners, and then position your interceptors as like a counter response to his turn. Because he's not going to be able to charge you. He's going to be able to charge you turn 1 if you position correctly.
Yeah, even on these long edge deployments, this is Dawn of War deployment. Still cannot keep this stuff up straight. Anyway, so this Dawn of War long edge means that obviously it's a very short charge distance, but yeah, I was trying to be cagey. I was actually pre-measuring how far his threat ranges were as I was moving. So I've gotten better about that, not just giving away free units. I mean, there's always the opportunity for them to, do a long bomb, charge into me. But I was trying to be really careful and not like give him, a 7-inch charge or whatever. I think he had to do a 12 here if he was gonna actually catch me.
Perfect. That's a really heads up play to pre-measure like what he needs to get in there. Especially with the dense makes it even more difficult. And then you are exposed to some heat lance fire, but now the heat lance fire is hitting on 5s instead of 4s.
Yeah.
So I mean, it seems like a small like positioning change, but it's actually pretty massive. And that's what like you got to live by with Grey Knights, dude. You live by the angles, the constantly being able to redeploy, abandon the side of the board, and end up somewhere else. It's great. It's so cool.
That's an excellent point. I actually did not. I should have been cagier and not dug in my heels as much. I should have done more shunts and more gates. I think I cast gate once this whole game, where really I should be looking for opportunities to use it every single turn. And I think I got so like narrowly focused onto this right flank and how poorly it was going that I was like throwing as many resources as I could into that, when I should have been like, nah, fuck it, I'll leave like one normal Dread Knight to die, and we're just gonna go over here now.
Well, you're doing what you had to do based on the decisions you'd made before that, right? Where you had to secure that flank for banners because you didn't want to lose the banners. And he was pushing hard right side, so you don't want to just give that up because he's got. I think he was able to get all 3 banners up turn 1, right?
Yeah, he's got so much chaff in this list. Like he's got like, what does a Kabbalite warrior unit cost? Like 45 points or something. It's pretty.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna look it up just because it is 40 points.
Oh wow.
For 5 models. How nice. How quaint.
Yeah, the Druhkari book's like pretty decent. Like it's all right. It's like not great, but
yeah, you know, it's all right.
Oh, it's massive. I had a game last weekend where I went into the THICC City and I put like 4 Dread Knights. Like you're just like literally your same scenario of like I got +1 to wound, +1 damage off. They ate psychic powers. They ate melee shooting, and he still had a Talos left on 4 wounds from like 4 Dread Knights.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened here. Except I didn't get off the +1 to wound power, but yeah.
The +1 to wound is pretty big.
I know. It's so, I mean, that's why everybody takes sword bearers, or else you could take other brotherhoods, you know. So
well, I have some thoughts to beat this. I stayed up late last night just kind of pondering. I think I have something. I'm not sure how good it is. We'll see today. I'm gonna run into THICC City with a couple buddies of mine. So.
Oh, really? You want to talk about that, or is this super secret?
Oh no, it's not super secret. It's actually interesting because it's kind of like some of the initial Grey Knight builds on launch before the Dread Knight hype started.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that. Let's finish your game, man.
Okay.
I'm having a lot of fun, like seeing what you're doing.
No, this is great feedback, dude. I cannot this is fantastic. So, I just didn't do enough. Let me back up. One of Grey Knight's strengths is their mobility. I was not using our mobility to its maximum effect. I've got gate, I've got shunt. Unfortunately, my Grandmaster with the sigil was never targeted, but like that's also kind of a bonus. I have interceptors out the butt. Like I got so many of them, and I just didn't do enough to project threat, move around, and say if you don't deal with these, they'll, you know, pee in your Wheaties on the next turn. And I was more like what?
Pee in your Wheaties. I've never heard that before.
Pee in your breakfast cereal, you know. Like
I might have to try that. What is it? Dodgeball?
Is that a Florida thing?
Yeah. I mean, there's no rules down here, man. What is the dodgeball? He's like, do I have to drink my own urine? No, but it's sterile, and I like the taste.
Yeah, there you go. Dodgeball is such a great movie.
Love that movie. Great movie.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's you needed to really maximize your mobility and not just, hey, I'm gonna walk into the center of the board, because point for point, he wins every trade. You need
right.
like 3 or 4 of those Dread Knights to go into a unit to deal with them, which is it's tough. And you know, honestly, the best approach to beating them is just beating them on the OBSEC game. So once you eliminate the OBSEC, you can kind of abuse that your unyielding anvil. Do you have it on a Dread Knight?
Yes, I do. Because the base is so damn big, you might as well put it on a Dread Knight. The base is really like a knight base.
I know, it's really good on the one that teleports when you shoot it. Really good.
Yeah, I have Hammer of Righteousness on that guy usually. So, but anyway, so if you look at the screen here, there is an interceptor squad on this far left. Don't know if everybody can see that super well, but it's down by my little profile image here. I had tried to get ethereal castigation off on them to actually move them into this corner, and it never got off.
Ooh.
So that was a play that cost me 2 points for engage, which is, you know, not ideal. So
yeah, you don't want to rely on psychic too much for engage, but it is helpful. You want to go over to turn 2?
yeah, I'm
assuming he just pushes up his stuff, puts his banners up, goes behind a clearing.
He gets one of my Dread Knights into combat on turn 1, if I remember right. He wraps him pretty good. Yeah, and I gate him out on turn 2. Let me jump ahead here, figure this out. There we go. All right, so here's the right side of the board on turn 2. So I gate that Dread Knight out. I drop him back here next to the Tech Marine. You can't, it's behind this left side obscuring ruin. So my plan there is he'll get healed for a turn or two and just kind of shoot at what he can shoot. And then I have another unit for late game. Unfortunately, late game never really happens. So he has 1 wound when I gate him back over there. He obviously gets healed at the end of the movement phase, so he won't get healed until next turn. And then here's where I like double down again on this right corner or side. So I move up a strike squad right here. I have interceptors, the ones that were here in the middle, moved right through this wall to charge the Talos from behind, and right now they're perfectly positioned to gather me 2 for engage. If I remember right, I actually do wipe this grotesque squad, but it's like barely, or maybe there's 1 left with 1 wound. I can't remember. It was I'm gonna ignore the fact that Dineeth was like making every damned 5-up feel no pain that he did, but I'm gonna just point that out, that not only is it tough to get these guys into the wound, like the feel no pain phase of the die roll, he was making a lot of those 5-ups. It was pretty
I was watching
pretty gnarly.
I felt your pain. I was like, oh my goodness. It's like half damage, made like 2 out of my 6 saves, and then like 3 out of my, you know, whatever, feel no pains, and it's just like, all right, 1 damage. You're just like, okay, this is terrible.
Yeah. It's like out of 12 shots, great. Well, yeah, my one silencer shot did 1 damage.
Yep.
Here's the left side here, so you can see this Dread Knight that I moved over. I pushed up this left side interceptor squad into his corner here. They're back in this dense terrain. And then I had to move my Grandmaster Dread Knight. I think that's not my Grandmaster. Anyway, I had to move a Dread Knight onto the objective to do Purifying Ritual.
Yep, of course.
So yeah, not exactly what you want to be doing with their powers, but
I actually tend to like doing Purifying Ritual with like the standard Dread Knights, because I mean, what else do they know? Smite and Hammerhand. I mean, obviously you get 1 with a +1 to wound off, but it's a pretty good unit to gate. Actually, to Purifying Ritual with, and there's a cool trick. I don't know if you ever use this, but putting a unit like, say, interceptors on like a exposed objective out in the open, having them cast Purifying Ritual, and then you can gate them back afterwards.
Yeah, that's so that's one of the things that Stuart Trainer brought up in our talk. He actually talks about how he uses like servitors to maybe kind of like advance onto an objective. They hold it. You move up. interceptors, they actually cast Purifying Ritual, and then you gate them out, and that way on your opponent's turn he has to waste something to kill those stupid servitors, because if he doesn't, you get 5 more points on your turn. But you just put up these little like 30-point units, and then you're like, well, I have to shoot something at it, right? Like, hope I can kill this 30-point unit. So
just one of them just lives because you spiked on dice. Like,
yeah, feels bad. I mean, if they shoot, shaft fire into it, like storm bolters on a Redemptor, probably not gonna kill 4 of them, but you could, especially with my die rolling.
All right. I wish I had some sort of like, if we ever do this again, I'm definitely gonna have to pull up some sort of media tool or whatever to do highlight and
to point
stretches and arrows and all that stuff, that kind of stuff. Just make it easier for the viewers and stuff. But I mean, I think we're doing pretty decent so far. Just kind of talking about things. I mean, your opponent definitely seems like a really solid player. Like he kind of knows what's going on pretty well.
So Dineeth's been on the show for a long time, or multiple times. Like I think he's been on 4 or 5 times. He's a pretty accomplished team player. Mainly down in Australia, but he runs the Normal Blokes podcast. They do some pretty cool analytical stuff, so he's a pretty decent player. He's definitely way better than I am. I'm trying to see here. So I charge in. I'm pretty sure we end up wiping those grotesques. Yeah. Nope, there's 1 left. That's right. I managed to... Gosh, where is this? Oh, that's right. I charge, kill it, and then I consolidate back into his quarter for engage. So we do end up killing those grotesques, but as you see, we just get in turn 2 for Dineeth. He just takes this big pile of dudes right in the middle here, all of these Talos and these grotesques, and he moves them, and then he just obliterates this right side.
Bam.
Yeah, it was.
Wait, you got charged turn 1, by the way.
Yeah, he got off a charge, if I remember. I mean, he did. We can clearly see it. I just don't remember if he made like a long bomb or whatever.
Yeah, you can't have that happening turn 1.
Yeah. So I held that, killed that 1 unit. He moves his grotesques up from this left side objective to back behind this scalable, what do they call this, obstacle?
Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of cool. So if you look at his positioning, the grotesque in the center are actually out of position, because I don't believe that center terrain piece is breachable. So he's going to need a lot more movement to get around. Yeah. And they've kind of taken themselves out of threat range of the right objective. With a good advance, he could definitely charge onto the left objective potentially. So that's what you want to. What you do here is, so he positions like such. You back up, and I know it's a weird thing to do in 40K, but back up. Just touch the objective with either a strike squad or interceptor squad, where they're not going to be charged, because I think there's some sort of lip where you can hide it. You can touch the objective from behind the ruins on the left side.
Yes, right in here. On my stream, can you even see my cursor, or is this?
I can see your cursor.
Okay,
it's just
great.
It's a little backed up. I think.
Okay. No, there is a stream delay, by the way, so you'll be like 10 seconds behind or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So in here.
At this point. Yeah, he backed. You should back up. So at that point, he has nowhere to
charge. Essentially, you can kind of isolate and deal with whatever else is exposed.
Mm-hmm.
And if he wants to come into your lines, he's going to have to expose himself in the center. I think Talos, you probably save them for last, just because it's such a resource commitment to deal with.
Yeah.
Where the grotesques are a little bit easier to kill because they're only on a 6-up save, I believe. Which they will die, but the Talos will not die unless you put 4 or 5 Dread Knights into them. And it's almost. Oh, I do have a question for you. Did you combat squad everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I almost always do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do too. But I almost don't hate not combat squatting a 10-man unit of interceptors because the 10-man will actually put a dent into the grotesque, rather the 5-man will kill like 2 of them.
Yeah, that's a good point. So in this matchup, maybe have one 10-man running around just being obnoxious as hell.
Yeah. Make him really reconsider like trying to walk up and threaten your stuff because the 10-man will eat a grotesque squad for sure.
Okay, that's actually a good point.
Yeah, there's a couple things that it's interesting because you did take engage, and I'm telling you to play passively on your objectives. So that's where you can start maybe giving up, the 5-man unit interceptors, whatever. Because say you gated Shun in turn 1, you cleared out the left side of just chaff, so now he can't screen that left side. So shunting a unit of interceptors, that top left corner, to just sit there, hang out, and get purifying ritual, or not purifying, engage for like 2 to 3 turns, would be a pretty solid play, which lets you play passively on the other sides of the board.
It also would require him, like, if I charge into these Cabalet warriors, it like forces him to use. I think back in this left corner was a succubus and something else. The homunculus was following the Talos around, which makes sense. That brings him up to like toughness 7, and then he can heal them. What else? Yeah, so these interceptors would have like charged in, killed these Cabalet warriors, and then have gotten absolutely like dunked by that succubus. I think you're muted now, man. I can't hear you.
My best.
There we go.
I need to get better set up.
Okay. I can hear you now.
Try to reposition a little bit. I apologize to everyone watching. I feel like I'm screwing up, dropping the ball here.
This is a prototype of a type. Like, I've never done anything like this, man. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah, I mean it's practice for me. I'm doing a couple other podcasts this week, so just using you as a test dummy. I'm kidding.
Nice. Thank you. I'll take it.
Yeah. So if the Cabalites are dead and all that fun jazz, turn 1, then that succubus, if it's assuming it's still there, will get picked up by that 5-man interceptor squad.
That's true. Trading back and forth.
Because that's the thing that kills me against Druhkari is like you spend all this time strategizing, right? But then it's also another mini game of like, all right, where the hell are the characters at? It's like you have to like isolate them, and it's like a witch hunt because those characters will like kill like Dread Knights and stuff, like the Archon with the full rerolls.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. It is absolutely bonkers what they can actually like throw out, and that's after they've been nerfed
twice.
Yeah, they've been nerfed straight up. Still just absolutely incredible.
Still the best faction in the game, but
yeah, nerfed what 3 times like and well then they. Okay, so Dineeth actually is complaining about the very army that he's playing while he's playing it, but like he's actually saying, I don't understand why they brought like Talos down 10 points or whatever per model. So he's just like, yeah, of course everybody just switched to this. This is nuts. And
it was, I think I remember listening to him talk about how he was somewhat running it earlier on in the
yeah,
the Druhkari book, and it's like it's crazy to think like we've gone this far, like this many renditions of the army, and it's still just the top. But hey, I mean, nothing really you can do about it. Just try to play your best and make list adjustments and just kind of learn how to play against it. And I've fortunately had a pretty good record against Druhkari. But I feel like I have this just physical reaction to like whenever I have to go to a table and play it, it's just like it's not going to be a fun game. No matter how awesome my opponent is, it's just you have to claw for every point against them, and it's just tough.
it's pretty rough. So, onto his turn 2, he charges this strike squad or this interceptor squad with the Talos here. He brings up his Hellions to reinforce this right flank. He brings up that one leftover, or there's one Talos left right here with like 2 wounds or 4 wounds, and it's giving lookout sir to this homunculus, I think is the name of it. Yeah. That's the like their like tech marine, but for their monsters.
Yeah, the +1 toughness. That guy's annoying because he comes back with D3 wounds too.
Yeah, on a 2-up, if I remember right. He comes back on a 2-up. So on my left flank here, he actually pulls those grotesque and actually does charge that interceptor squad here on the left. He obviously picks them up. I don't remember that being a fight at all. Or maybe one guy is left and then he goes and does obnoxious shit. I don't remember.
Obnoxious shit. That's Dude, a great way to put that.
With one interceptor left, like, yeah, that's all he can go do is like be annoying, right? Just go.
It's 8 points, man. He can get you purifying ritual. He can get you engaged.
Yeah, that is true. All right, I'm just trying to skip ahead here because this didn't. Yeah. So this middle grotesque unit here charges my Dread Knight. Totally picks it up. You can see back here in this corner that this squad of grotesques wiped that squad of interceptors. It's just just leaves these interceptors back here. It looks like I'm actually moving. This might be the start of turn 3 here in the stream. So yeah, I'm moving some stuff around. Over here was a real bitch because my idea was to try to charge both of these guys into these Talos, both of these Dread Knights, but their bases are so fat, and I didn't want one in this heavy terrain. So you know, because I didn't want the -2, so I end up like kind of move blocking myself almost. I should have just moved way up into the heavy and just absorbed that +2, or you know, just try it anyway. Because I think I only end up with one of those in combat. I think I get that strike squad that was down there in combat. He did a super good job of screening me out. So I had 2 5-man interceptor squads in deep strike.
Okay.
And I
saw that. You couldn't come in anywhere relevant.
Yeah, so I put one down back here to try to reinforce this left flank, but obviously, like, I'm playing so defensively now, I'm just trying to hold my deployment zone, right? Like, it's so, I'm in absolutely, like, dire straits. And I don't remember where I think I brought down the other interceptor squad. You can just see their, pole arms right here. There was nowhere to drop in his backfield. Like, he screened me out really well. Yeah.
I hate that feeling.
But it goes,
yeah,
it goes back to what you were kind of saying though, where like turn one, if I had shot off a bunch of that chaff, those action monkeys on the backfield, I would have had more space because he would have had fewer models to like screen me out. So then on turn 2 or turn 3, I could have brought these guys down in his back lines and been running around, you know, killing more of his chaff and trying to make a game
absolutely.
Which game out of it. So
which feeds into your winning game plans. The reason why I think this game was so lopsided is he knows where you're going to be. All he has to do is just push into you.
Yep.
You weren't playing the board edges, and that's where THICC City's the strongest. He just goes into you and he says, point for point, I'm going to win this.
Yep.
Now, when he's forced to send these, 200 to 300 point units, or I don't know how much talents are now, like 270 or something, whatever, to edges of the board to go deal with, Dread Knights that are getting lines of fire, or interceptors that are scoring engage. You need to kind of separate and then use your mobility to go and be like, all right, now I'm putting 3 Dread Knights into these grotesques. I've gated and shunted or whatever. Or I even had one come in via deep strike. The fact that he was just like, hey, I'm walking up. You gave him charge. You gave him a charge turn 1, which gave him even more movement. Which you did not want to do that whatsoever. And then all he had to do was walk forward and then point for point. He's going to win that game.
All right.
It's rough. You have to give him reasons to not do that. Yeah. You have to give him reasons to go to his own objectives, his own backfield, the corners of the board, dense cover. Because grotesques are fast, but if you give him like a charge, like a bait, like, hey, charge my Grandmaster, charge my Dread Knight using the dense cover. Now they're going to be out of position for the following turn. You may have given up a unit, but that lets you go advance your game plan elsewhere and then deal with that later, or not even deal with that at all. At the open finals, I actually made a mistake that actually won me the game. I was playing against a really, really good Black Templars player.
You made a mistake.
And I realized
that won you the game.
Only thing, is that even a mistake? I realized that he had a Blade Guard unit that was just juice the gills. It had like ignore AP 1 and 2. The sergeant had 4 wounds. It was like 7 attacks, damage 3. Storm shields that had apothecary babysitting it. Like I could not kill this unit unless I committed my whole army to it. So I couldn't have him pushing into my deployment zone, taking my objectives, threading the middle, all that stuff with that unit. I had gated a Grandmaster into dense terrain on the side of the board. Kind of like think about the map right now, where there's that little forest on the side, and basically gave him a unit to charge. Which was dumb, but what ended up happening, the end result was this Blade Guard unit was now stuck in dense terrain and no man's land, near no objectives. So it was essentially dead for game purposes for 2 turns, which let me go elsewhere and then deal with everything else. So it's not always about just killing the units or being, necessarily in the right position. It's kind of advancing your game plan, and your opponent will sometimes make mistakes. Because it's impossible for my opponent to know that, hey, I just don't charge the unit, just sit on my objective, because that's not a decision you're used to making. But anyway, I try not to get too into the weeds. It's tough, man. It's always an uphill battle against Druhkari.
Yeah.
You're lucky you didn't have more Chronos, which are, that's when it gets real scary, because he gets his pain siphon off and then his heals. So if the Chronos kills a model or whatever unit in melee, he can bring back a unit of like a model of Talos or Grotesque, and then he can also put them on turn 5 power from pain, and that's when it gets to the point where you can't really recover from that. So
it doesn't. Lucky or not, this game was a perfect game for Dineeth. Like he's gonna score maximum here. But as we move on here, I get off a little shooting. Oh, my Stormbolters actually did way more than I ever thought. Like, because just drowning him in like shitty saves you know, if I shoot him 100 times or 80 times into one unit of grotesque, like I'm gonna kill one grotesque, you know, just the sheer weight of dice. Not everybody can just roll fucking 4s the whole game, you know, or whatever it is. 3s, I think, for them. But yeah, like you can, even with no AP, like you can actually ping off wounds and.
Well, Cybolt ammunition's a great stratagem in this matchup. Great.
Which actually, I was just thinking that. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another benefit of a 10-man. Because they can, you know, run up within 12. You pop Cybolt, they get 40 shots with -1 AP and 6's auto wounding. And then if you're close enough, you can still charge. Does that work for, is it when selected to shoot, or is it in the shooting phase? Because you could actually use that with ethereal castigation. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it would be insane. I would be maximizing that very much if it was in the psychic phase as well.
I thought it was, but...
And don't forget, you also have access to a 2CP stratagem called Steely Advance, which can have the unit count as stationary.
Yeah.
It's a little bit pricey. That'll be 4 CP for that whole whatever edition, but it essentially will allow you to do that from 24 inches out, which can be very helpful sometimes.
Yeah, that's a hell of a CP commitment, but...
yeah.
I mean, yeah. I only start with 7, so I'm up to 9. So I'm at 7, and then I get 1 for, you know, turn, and then I potentially get 1 more back from the Divination Warlord trait on one of my Tech Marines, so I can, you know, potentially have 2 every turn. But if I'm sending 4 every turn, you know, I've only got 3 turns of juice, really. At that point.
I know. It's a very special scenario or special case that you would need to do that, but it's good to have in your toolbox, you know.
And luckily I've stymied that new player reaction where like you want to use your command rerolls all the damn time. Like I don't really do that anymore. In fact, now I probably don't use it enough, but I'm like, no, I'm not gonna reroll. No, I'm not gonna reroll. Like I need those CP for other stuff, you know? I don't want to go down below 2 because I want to be interrupting, you know, I always want to, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's actually really big that you recognize that. Interrupt is one of the most powerful stratagems in the game. So,
now if I could just learn when to do it.
Yeah. That's great.
Okay, so turn 3. Let's see. I take back my objective on the left here. Yeah, pretty handily if I remember.
Yep.
But I mean, he's been on his back the whole time, just scoring maximum banners. He's been keeping me out of those corners for the most part, so he's been scoring 4 on Herd the Prey almost every turn, except 1, I think.
Yeah, you can't score on You can't score it on 1.
No, except 1 turn. Not turn 1. He scored it all except 1 turn that he was able to. It was really bad. I basically just gave him points for that. But yeah, so I mean that's a good way of thinking about that. Going back to what you were originally saying and bringing it up again. If I had shunted a Dread Knight into the backfield on the left side, now it's effectively a 6-point swing. Well, not on turn 1, but it could be effectively a 6-point. Well, not a 6-point, a 4-point swing, because he'll score only 2 for Herd, and I'll score 2 for Engage. So that's 4 points.
You cannot score Herd the Prey turn 1.
Right, but on turn 2. Right, like
if it's still there,
yeah. If it's still there, that's a good point.
No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, not even that. Like, if you can't get banners up the whole game, that's a 5-point swing right there, right?
Yeah, that's true.
If you can keep pressuring. Now, actually, what's his succubus back there? Because I may be over.
Yeah.
Okay, so if he's raising the banners with the succubus, like chef's kiss, like see you later.
Well, I mean, that does mean his grotesque get to charge me, but yeah, I don't know. It might be worth it.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of think through it. You know, it's hard to plan how the entire game plays out. You just gotta give what your opponent, or react to what your opponent gives you. Because like, okay, now he's charging you with grotesque or whatever. Now you set up a play like, okay, now he gave you a grotesque unit. Maybe a Dread Knight doesn't even die, and now you're like, okay, cool. Now I just get to pick up these grotesques for free, as well as your succubus is dead, and now I have a whole portion of this board, this back corner to put units back there, 5-mans, whatever.
Yeah,
just kind of create like a little bit of a base of operations, and that's fine. He can push your right side, but now you're projecting threat into 2 of his objectives, where he's only projecting threat onto your 1 right side objective.
Yeah.
So,
that's a great point. Like I made this same mistake in the RTT against a Black Templar player, is that I just didn't. He was castled, and his whole castle was basically like moving up the board, and I engaged it, and I should have used the Grey Knight movement shenanigans. Gate, shunt, bait out some shots. Like potentially have 3 units in his backfield turn 2, or even more from if I had deep strikers, So
yeah.
You're
grasping all these decisions and concepts. You just got to learn to apply it. It's just practice. You got to get reps, because your knowledge base is there. You seem to know a lot about the game and a lot about the army. You need to come up with that concrete game plan, and I think that's the one thing you're missing.
When I come into a game, especially armies I don't know, that I've never played, it's like, the only thing I keep falling back to is like, play the mission, right? Like, what are my secondaries? Stand on primary, try. But you're right, where when you're dealing with these brick armies, can't really engage. Like, I can't stand up to a brick, like what you were saying with that crazy buffed up Black Templar, Blade Guard squad. If you think Blade Guard are good by themselves without buffs, now give them Tannhauser's bones or whatever, because they can give 1 relic to one of their, or a bunch of relics to their sergeants. So I think one of them can become -1 damage, +1 wound, and then you can put the ignore AP 1 and 2 on that unit, and they're already Blade Guards, so you're basically just sticking them on a 2-up the whole time, and they're just impossible to kill.
Yeah, they just become Super Saiyan at that point.
So which means at that point, it's like, well, if he's not up in my grill grabbing me by the throat, I should probably just fucking ignore it. I'm glad that you spent all those buffs on that. I'm gonna go kill everything else now.
No, exactly. And it's so hard. I'll catch myself sometimes be like, oh, big scary unit, I need to deal with this. And it's like, no, I don't necessarily do that. I'm going to cut my video for a second.
Yeah, that's cool. So this is the end of the board state at the end of turn 3. I think that we ended up calling it here, because there just wasn't a lot to, I had no game left. I didn't have very many units left. He was holding his back edge fine. He had pulled those Hellions around, grabbed one of my objectives. He had killed that other interceptor squad on the left side, which left my left flank was basically one of the interceptor squads that I dropped down from Deep Strike, 1 regular Dread Knight, which I think was on pretty low wounds, and then my Grandmaster, and that was it. So that flank had fallen apart. My right flank was completely gone. I had 1 low wounds Dread Knight left that wasn't even on the objective that was surrounded by Rex and grotesques, I think. I can't really tell from here. He still had a Talos moving up. It was really bad. So there was just almost none of my army left. I had 4 combat capable units. I'm ignoring the servitors in that equation because they're garbage in combat. But yeah, it was pretty much over here. We scored it out. Oh no, it wasn't to 26. It was like 100 to 46. Yeah, if I remember right. You can just see the score there in the corner.
more palatable.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as bad. Purifying Ritual did me well. Engage on all fronts. I only got 3, 4. I got 6 for Raise the Banners, which is not as bad as it could have been, but not as good as I would have liked it to be. So I think you're right that if I had gone with Engage on all fronts, Psychic Ritual, and then something else for my secondary Rod, that would have been way better. With Rod too, I probably would have been a lot more aggressive and tried to drop things out of his backfield, you know, because then I can Rod easier. Yeah, that's
and then it also, you know, exploits the one of the weaknesses of the Druhkari list is it's 5 big bricks, right?
Yeah.
It's not old Druhkari where there's like 6 or 7 10-man witch squads, 3 5-man incubi squads, where has threats all over the place. He's got 5 big threats and he's got 3 characters.
Yeah.
So it goes in your game plan of like, I'm going to go to the corners of the board. I'm going to get my points that way without necessarily fighting you one-on-one. And then when he, you know, positions to go deal with your scoring, you can kind of isolate, pick off a unit here, turn 3, pick off a unit, turn 4, pick off a unit. And then that gives you the ability to just completely collapse on him.
Yeah.
Once he's kind of spread out. So yeah, it's tough, man. It's a really tough matchup, but you just got to get some more practice into it, like for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have is your camera back? I want to switch views here. Oh, okay, cool. Well, then I'll stay here. But anyway, yeah, it ended 46 to 100. I got stomped. I never felt like I was really in control of that game, which feels really bad. My one friend that plays Druhkari a lot, he's been working nights and like recently switched schedules back to like a normal human schedule, so hopefully I can get a bunch of reps into him soon, because that'd be nice. I know he just bought like 2 Talos boxes. Because he wants in on this thick city. So
on this thick city. What are your thoughts on the Tech Marines? How have they been doing for you?
They're crazy good, man. So they buff up my non-character Dread Knights to where they shoot better than the character Dread Knights, because the non-character ones are core, so they get rerolls from the Grandmasters. So they're gonna hit on 2s, rerolling 1s, which is just insane. That's a crazy conversion. So they're hitting like all the damn time with +1 to wound from the Sword Bearers strat. They're gonna wound a lot of the time. They're gonna wound on like 3s and 2s, or 4s and 3s in like the worst case, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to get a lot of conversion that way, and then just weight of shots, and +1 damage is crazy. I played my buddy who plays Iron Warriors. He brought his Greater Brass Scorpion. I went first, got off every power, 5 Dread Knights shot into it, and it was left with like 2 wounds at the end, and that's after he spent 1 CP to ignore AP1, 1 CP to get a 6-up Feel No Pain, which he actually rolled pretty well on. And then that's including the fact that the Greater Brass Scorpion just straight up can shrug psychic powers. So he didn't shrug anything except a smite, but he, you know, it was he was surprised by the amount of firepower because they're 20. Yeah. They are toughness 8, 28 wounds. So, like, the Psy cannon's wounding on 3s with the +1 to wound. The Silencer is wounding on 4s and not 5s, which is huge. Yep. So yeah, he was like, "Damn, that is just incredible."
It's a great psychic power. I'd argue it's probably one of the best ones. I think Gate's #1, and that would probably be #2 for me.
The +1 to wound.
The +1 damage.
Oh yeah.
+1 to wound is also very, very, very strong.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get this visual back on. But I mean, so honestly, the weakest phase for us is the shooting. I know the Dread Knights put out a lot of dice, but I feel like our melee and psychic is definitely more powerful. Especially the greatest weakness of the army is the shooting being mostly 1 and 2 or 0 AP. So if units are in cover or they have ignore AP 1 and 2, which is becoming kind of common.
Common. I'm actually surprised by how common that is. Like, I'm building all of these interceptors with halberds, and I'm like, God damn it, maybe I should build them all with swords. Because that -3 AP, man, is just...
Yeah, but I think currently the strength 6 is a little more important.
Yeah. But hey.
But yeah, so I was asking because I've had nothing but bad experiences with Tech Marines so far, and they're cool in theory, and they definitely, I could see your output goes like through the roof when you Tech Marine some non-Grandmaster Dread Knights.
Yeah.
My issue is I'm always out of position because I'm always like gating and shunting Dread Knights and redeploying them and stuff like that. So like, turn 1 I'll get the buff, and then I feel like after that they kind of just sit there, hold a backfield objective, and then I'll send a wounded Dread Knight back there to get healed up like you did in your game.
Yeah, what I do in that case, like if my Dread Knights are no longer near enough to give out buffs, is they just sit on the objectives and cast Purifying Ritual usually.
Yeah.
They're kind of hanging out to dry, so if they take Assassinate, which would be actually not that great against my list anyway, because if you table me, you're going to get 13 points. So definitely not a guarantee. But yeah, I mean, they're kind of hanging out to dry, but they can at least sit there and do stuff. Like one of them I have Sanctuary on, which can be pretty clutch if you stick that on like a 5-man Interceptor squad. Suddenly the math is a lot different when those little bastards have a 4-up invul.
Yeah, it's not a throwaway unit anymore.
Yeah, and then they'll just do Purifying Ritual if I don't need the power, and then the other one has Warp Shaping and Divination. So I can either cast Purifying Ritual with that guy as well, or get back 1 OCP, or I can decide to change the tide if I need to. I almost never change the tide. Like, if I'm going second into a shooting army, I'll start in Tide of Shadows, then on my turn I switch to Tide of Convergence, and then I stay in Tide of Convergence the whole game.
Yeah, generally you can kind of see where you want to stay for most of the game. There's definitely some use case scenarios where you don't. I think the most times that I change is like you said, Tide of Shadows into Convergence.
Yeah.
Or I need to make a push and my output is not as important as making charges. So I'll go to the minimum dice roll charge, whatever it's called, Tide, where it's dice roll 1 and 2, 3.
Tide of Celerity.
Celerity. Oh, sounds cool. Now, if I needed to make like 3 or 4 charges in a turn, and I know I'm going to kill those units, I'll probably go to that because it's more important that I make the charges connect than get the extra mortals in combat.
That's another thing that I've been trying to do with my general gameplay is that I'm trying to remove as much of the dice game from the dice game as possible. You know what I mean? Like making sure you get those rerolls. For instance, first my buddy Levi, he was running Iron Warriors, and other than like I think 2 squads of cultists and 2 squads of Chaos Marines, everything was a demon. So I was in Tide of of banishment the whole game, and rerolling ones to hit and wound army wide for everything is fucking insane.
It's so juicy.
Like, it's so insane. It really is. It's just like, I was apologizing. I mean, he's got an 8th ed codex, right? And then like he's fighting the anti-demon army, and I'm with almost nothing but demons. So I'm just like having a great time.
I'll reroll all of my dice all the time.
Yeah. So otherwise, yeah, I just stay in celerity or convergence most of the time, especially with interceptors. I find they're so fast that I can get them into like a 3-inch charge range often.
Yeah.
So then celery, tide of
celery?
Well, I mean that's what everybody kind of calls it, but tide of celerity would guarantee that charge, or I can get mortals when I hit on or wound on 6s. So, you know.
Oh, it's definitely good. There's some weird lists you can definitely make work with the multiple Brotherhood cast, which I haven't gotten to do that in the game, but I feel like with Sword Bearers, getting multiple +1 to wounds off could be pretty cool. On different units.
Yeah, with tide of escalation. Yeah, I mean, the problem is you can't go back to ties that you've already used.
Mm-hmm.
So like let's say you go second, you know, you're gonna start in shadows, then in turn 2 you're gonna switch to tide of escalation, maybe get off, you know, those powers twice. You're gonna get off a decent round of shooting into 2 units hopefully, and then they're going to shoot you back. Now you won't have the cover from shadows. And then I guess turn 3 you could switch to convergence, and then stay in that the whole game.
Well, actually, this game right here, that I don't think this would have been a bad game for tide of
escalation. Yeah,
you know, because if you have 2 Dread Knights going to, you know, grotesque, and then you have 3 Dread Knights, well, I think your stuff is split, right?
Yeah, but it was, but that could also be like, as my gameplay gets better, I'll probably stop making that kind of mistake. One of the things I noticed in my own gameplay is that like I tried to castle those Dread Knights up to make sure that they were always getting Grandmaster rerolls, but then the Grandmaster that was like in range was from the wrong Brotherhood, so they don't get rerolls from that. And then the one that wasn't in range, you know, I was like, I misplayed that, but you know, part of that is the models in TS. There is no Grandmaster model that makes it obvious what's what, so you have to be really aware of which one's which. And I was not. And it's not to say I don't make that same mistake on the actual board with my models either. So
I actually have my Dread Knights marked with their shield. So the Swordbearer guys, he has a blue dragon on his shield. And his 2 buddies have like just the stock little slit shields.
Yeah.
And then the pressing one a red dragon, and then his buddy's got like the 2 big shields on there. So it's like I know which one is which. Same with the Tech Marines. I color coordinated a little bit, which helps me a bunch. It's hard to remember all this stuff, you know, especially when you're, you know, 5 games into an event or whatever. So just smooth the term, I guess, smooth brain it as much as you can. Just
yeah, no, I on my actual models, on actual gameplay, I have I have markers on them, but I'm going to magnetize their back. I magnetize like everything, and then I can just snap on like a little iron halo looking thing, like a golden halo or whatever, to make it obvious which ones are the Grandmasters. So
it's awesome.
Yeah, one of them looks like me. I actually 3D printed my face with some sweet sunglasses on. So that's what all right, man. Yeah. I think they're on my Instagram, but and now I can plug my Instagram. I don't know if you actually use it or not.
I'm only on Club Penguin, so.
Don't know what that is. I don't know if you made that up or not. I'm so old.
It's an old computer game that kids used to play.
Oh. I mean, so it's not like a MySpace joke or some IRC chat room? That's from my time, man.
No, I think Club
IRC.
Penguin is like a RuneScape kind of game, but more like kiddie friendly.
Oh, I see.
I just remember my brother playing it. I was always a World of Warcraft guy. So
yeah, me too. I played WoW for a long time, man. That's actually how I met my wife.
No shit.
No shit. We were both in a raiding guild, and we both lived in Portland. And I can tell you the whole story later, but like the stars aligned, and we actually first met at a party that the guild threw after we ran through Karazhan for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole guild was basically from Portland. Like the caveat to get in at the time was that you had to know somebody personally that was already in the guild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember how strict things were. It's funny. I love Karazhan. That and Zul'Aman were my favorite raids of all time.
I've got that bear, the like timed run bear.
Oh my god, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, man. I got it.
I haven't played WoW in a bit, but I'm so jealous. I actually the night that my guild got the first time run done for Zul'Aman, I got G kicked halfway through the run, and I don't even remember why. I think me and like one of the officers had like some sort of beef because I the officers and guilds like get power hungry sometimes, right? They start kind of becoming authoritarians. I think I mouthed off to him and called him out on it, and he kicked me like mid run from the guild, and then I didn't get the mount.
Yeah, oh man, I was a raid leader, guild leader, main tank for a long time. First I played a warrior for main and tank, and then I played a paladin in Legion. Yeah.
Alliance or Horde?
Horde.
Oh, okay. All right.
Come on.
All right.
Come on.
Cool. I didn't want to have to end this podcast early.
Everything I could, I made into a Tauren because I thought they were awesome. They were hilariously sized, and yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna end the stream. Thank you to those of you that actually showed up.
Do you want to chat the new list real quick? Just.
Oh yeah, sure. Let's do it.
I'll try to go through this as briefly as possible. I'm definitely gonna get some reps within it.
No, I've got like 20 minutes. It's just I thought that because we weren't talking 40K anymore, I should probably end the stream.
Yeah, people are bouncing out. Sorry, cool. Little bit of gift at the end. So my logic here is, so I was thinking about how do you deal with THICC and the other top armies right now. THICC City.
THICC City.
And I was like, what units in the game have the output to just pick up a Talus brick? And then I just kind of went through it. Because it was partly because you brought it up on the last time we talked, is the Silver Tide list. Because it makes sense because you win the mirror with your strike bodies. The Dread Knights don't matter as much. And then a 10-man interceptor squad in rapiers, I believe, with Words of Power, will pick up a Talos unit. So if you just have a bunch of big meaty units on the board that can kill their meaty units, I think that might be the way to go. So I was thinking,
you weren't kidding. You are going back to the original when everybody's like, "Oh my god, does this stack with convergence? That's insane."
Yeah. It makes sense. I mean, it honestly just kind of makes sense. And I'll try it out today. I might get crushed, and it's like, all right, back to the Dread Knights. But I think it could work. I mean, because you get 41 attacks in the charge with the Interceptor Squad, because you get the +1 attack each. You do exploding sixes. You're chapter mastered, and then you get. I know.
So you're gonna
caps out at 6.
So you're bringing Drago as well, then.
Yeah. So Drago, Chaplain, 3x5 strikes. the Apothecary, 2x10 Purifier squads. I'm thinking about throwing 4 incinerators in there, or some sort of psi weapons, the free ones. I think the silencer maybe, just to have a little bit of shooting. 3x10 interceptors, and then for the last remaining points, I'm not sold, but I kind of want to bring the Inquisitor Draxus, the Kyriel Draxus.
Oh, the guy that can get CP by like eating your mind or whatever.
More so that it's a fight last. So if she makes a charge into a unit.
Oh yeah, that's right. She has to charge though. That's
fine, because you'll have one engagement downfield with, like, 10-man interceptor squad, and then you can push into another unit near your deployment zone with Draxus, who also is Ordo Xenos, so she gets full hit and wound rerolls against Xenos models, which nothing with the Power Fist.
Yeah, not bad. It's just the thing is, like, when you compare her to like the Judiciary. It's like the Judiciary can heroically intervene and give the fight last, like, but Draxus's power straight up is that she has to charge to give the fight last.
I have to see if she's worth it, because otherwise I can put servitors and a couple other upgrades throughout the list. But I don't want to lose a 10-man unit to interrupts, and I think I can try to position correctly where it works.
Have you thought about instead like a 10-man of strikes, because she's not that fast, not like the interceptors. So aren't the interceptors going to just leave her behind, and then they're not going to get fight last anyway? I mean, I guess you could always play cagey as fuck, but Yeah.
Well, you're not going to send 3 units of interceptors at the board. Like.
Well, no, but I mean, you're one 10-man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like, so think about in your game, where say you're pushing the left side and he pushes into you. The THICC, when he's coming into you, you can definitely make some charges with Draxus, right? When he's pushing
I guess that's true. Yeah. I guess I'm always thinking about how to be like aggressive with stuff too, because it's not just the thick city that you're going to be going into. Like, you have to make an all-comers list, right? So, and from personal experience, and you've probably had this too, like, we don't have Master of Sanctity upgrade for our chaplains, so that 3-up for Litany that you can't reroll is pretty awful. There's always the 2 CP strat to just have it go off anyway, but man, it does not feel good when you're like, all right, command phase, and that's a 2. Well, fuck it. Like, I brought a 110 point unit for nothing.
No, I agree. But I'm starting the list with probably 11 or 12 CP, if I'm being honest.
That's true. It's going to
be able to eat through CP really quickly.
Yeah, if you bring a battalion and not a whole bunch of detachments, then at least you're not starting at like 3. Yeah, for the inevitable nerf to Dread Knights, I think it's smart to get in more power armor list play if you have the time.
Yeah, exactly. And I also like the idea of Draxus, because with Grey Knights you can create a scenario where your opponent has to come to you, because you're going to threaten your 15 purifying ritual. Say you took banners, you're going to threaten 15 on there, so they have to come to you. And that's kind of my logic. I'll let you know if it works out, because it could just be something else. It could be more bodies or whatever. But I like the idea.
If you haven't watched it yet, my interview with Stuart Trainer was actually really awesome. He's the guy that took the all power armor list to a 3-0 at an RTT down in Australia, and I don't remember what his matchups were. I know he fought Druhkari once, but I can't remember what the actual build was. He says you have to play unbelievably cagey, because defensively, Grey Knight power armor is only a little better than Druhkari, but we cost a whole hell of a lot more. So you can't just like lose a 5-man in this list style, because you can't really you can't rely on those like 4-up invuls on the Dread Knights to like see it through.
No, I'm a very very cagey player. But the durability is an option there. Like I think you talked to David about the 10-man purifier brick.
Yeah.
It's a big CP investment, but you could do the transhuman and -1 damage, and then has a 4-up invuln with the apothecary sitting behind them, and plop them in the middle. And
so
that's a problem.
Yeah, so with purifiers, you can give them -1 or -1 damage for a 10-man. It's 3 CP, right?
Yeah, no, so it's 2.
Oh, it's still 2. Okay.
Transhuman goes to 3.
So it's 2. Transhuman goes to 3. You can give them a 4-up invul from Sanctuary, and then if the apothecary's right behind them, they got a 6-up Feel No Pain. If you run them as preservers and cast the preservers power, they'll have a 5-up Feel No Pain, but I don't think that's worth it.
They can't take Brotherhoods.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. That's right. Honored Knight.
I would be running full of that.
Honored Knight.
You could do that -1 damage, 5-up Feel No Pain, 4-up invuln. Like you created like a better THICC City.
No, you've just got THICC City, except you're still toughness 4. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I guess with transhuman that doesn't really matter, but like, you're still toughness 4.
I mean, I still have to iron all the kinks. I mean, I think splitting them all into 5-mans is still great because that's 4 purifying flames.
Oh yeah,
this list is gonna have way more mortals than the Dread Knight list.
What
for sure?
Well, one of the things Stuart did with his purifiers and his strikes and stuff is that he made that decision on purpose because the purifying flame goes up every cast, but it doesn't stack with smite like it did in 8th. So you have 2 scaling smites basically, which is nice, and then purifiers just by their very nature of being purifiers get +1 to actually cast that. So if you have 3 squads of 5, I mean it's a 4, 5, and 6 on the die, right? Like that's actually really reliable. And then your other squads can still do theirs at like 5, 6, and 7, which is still pretty reliable. You're not like getting into that 9 or 10 territory, which is just bonkers.
Yeah, where it is bonkers. And you can always save a squad for last that you really like. Okay, this unit needs to put out X amount of mortals, and you do save it for last. You do the 3d6 cast for Purifying Flame. So hopefully you get that juicy, D3 + 3 one off.
Yeah, because you only need a 10 on the dice to get the D3 + 3.
Yep, correct. Yep. And then you do the CP for the additional cast. Say like this, you saved your last smite roll, and you say you need like an 8. Now you have a much higher chance to get it off.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know how it goes. In theory, I kind of like it. Like your buddy said, you have to be cagey with it. But if you kind of just hang out, wait till turn 3, and then go party, I can see being pretty good.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, man, I think the Custodes, the Gene Stealer cult, and the Tau codexes are gonna really shake things up. Because, like, Dread Knights might get self-nerfed, because if they're gonna be running up against Tau, like, fucking Triptides or whatever, you're not gonna there's no way Dread Knights are gonna outshoot Tau, right? Like, it's just...
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's just not a thing. So I wonder if they're just gonna self-select out of the list if they just get blown up all the time.
I've been told to brace myself for Tau and Eldar.
Oh, really?
People,
oh, man.
So, I mean, you never know how true that stuff is. But I mean, what they previewed, I'm not going to pretend to not be salty here because the Tau now have more previews than the Gene Stealer cult, and the Gene Stealer cult, their book's supposed to be out by now.
Yeah, well, so's Custode. I mean,
yeah,
dude, the whole supply chain thing. I don't know if you have any friends in like logistics. It's insane. Like, I feel bad for Games Workshop because like it's just so hard to get anything physically right now, especially from China. So.
Yeah. We're just here. We're like, please, we'll give you all the money. Just give us our stuff.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I'm gonna go on a bit of a like tangent, but I think it's pretty ridiculous that, and you can see Games Workshop is trying to change this with the app,
Yeah.
But like the fact that they're relying on a physical commodity for books these days is pretty bonkers to me. Like all that shit should be digital. And I know that they're afraid, like, all right, if we sell one guy a PDF, then everybody's gonna have it for free, you know, but
yeah,
you know,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you even stop that. I've done their due diligence to like kind of eliminate these like sharing websites and stuff like that. But it's kind of like, oh, what's stopping someone from just taking pictures of the book and posting it in their Discord or whatever?
it's true. Yeah, I mean that's pretty common, but it's just they got to get the book first, you know. So
yeah,
this way we don't have the book.
I mean, I love the collector's edition. I feel like, you know, the artwork for 9th edition on these books has been fantastic. And my non-biased opinion is this Gene Stealer Cult book coming out has the best art. Non-biased, of course.
Yeah,
But
totally.
if I play an army and like I'm super into it, yep, I'll buy the collector's edition for sure. So I mean, maybe their best bet is to like offer like, hey, you purchase your either subscription for a month, monthly or whatever, and you have access to X, Y, and Z books, or you do the digital code and you get the whole book. 'Cause in the Sigmar app, you can scroll through all the pages and
that's
stuff.
exactly what they're doing with the 40K app right now. Is that like every book's got a code in the back, and you plug that in, and then you get it on the app. It's just too bad that that app is really missing the mark, if you ask me. And I'm a software quality engineer that has been testing mobile apps for almost a decade, and I'm telling you, that app falls flat.
I know. I use it from time to time. No. I know you can download the code, but you don't get the whole book. You get like the data sheets, you get relics, warlord traits. You can't physically.
Oh, you mean for like the artwork and stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, artwork. Just like there's like general rule pages you don't even get.
I'm amazed to hear this from you, man. Like, because what I wish I could buy are these books, but just the rules. Like, I want the core rule book that is the size of the GT pack, like right, and just the rules. Like, I love the artwork; it's gorgeous. I'm not, and like all the lore stuff is cool. But when I'm at a table, I don't give a shit. It's slowing me down. I want to get to what I need to know to play the game at that moment. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I guess that is kind of off-brand for me. But I remember just they used to have like painting tutorials in the books and like how to do the different color schemes and stuff like that. And that was always kind of like one of my favorite things to look at. I don't know. Did they even do that now? Like,
no, that all used to be in like White Dwarf too, but as far as I know, they stopped it there. The thing is that with the internet being so prevalent, right? Like you can go look up a YouTube tutorial of a guy painting a Grey Knight who's like a Golden Demon winner, and you're like, oh shit, this guy knows way more than those folks at Games Workshop probably know, because this guy is like, and not to put them down or like say that they're bad painters. I'm just saying it's like you have all these people out there who are freely giving these amazing, tutorials. I'm getting a phone call, and that is super annoying. I should have turned that off. Decline. It's probably spam anyway. All right. Anyway.
No, I mean that's probably the reason why they got rid of that. I just remember nostalgia, just like looking at books and like that's the color scheme I want to do.
Oh, dude, totally. Like, I got into tabletop gaming from Dungeons and Dragons. My mom bought me the 2nd edition red box when I was like 9. But like I got into wargaming because I would go into comic book shops and I'd look at all those books, and I found BattleTech books. Big chunky robots that go fight another, and I would just spend like 45 minutes to an hour while my mom is like, what are you buying? Hurry up, let's go. And I'm like, just like, oh my god, giant robots, like what do I do? And I would buy those books and I'd take them home and I'd read the lore and I'd look at all the stats, and then I realized like, oh my god, this is actually a game too, I can play this. and that was like, you know. So I get you. I totally get you. But like those days are kind of gone. Like the internet wasn't a thing when I was 11. If it was, you know, it was a DoD only, you know, or MUDs and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would like them to. I don't know. It's cool when you're like kind of copying, like, say, like I want the Ultramarine army, right? And this is like GW, like this is what Ultramarines are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they could use that as like a tool to maybe, hey, this is a new sub faction for AdMech. This is what they look like. This is how we painted it up. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's me. You know, there's a million other things I'd want before that. I just what I like sometimes. And yeah, no, the Age of Sigmar app is fantastic, and I don't know why they didn't get those guys to do the GW app.
They probably. I mean, I've been in software a long time, and I don't know which vendor is doing which app, but I bet you it's probably the same vendor, but it's a different team, you know. So I don't know. Or anyway. Also, hasn't the Age of Sigmar app been out a lot longer than the 40K one too? And that way it's like had time to bake and kind of become more mature.
Yeah.
Mature.
Yeah. It was actually, I don't know if so one of the guys for this the event in Dallas had to make everyone's list using the GW app, and like I felt so bad. Everyone's list. So that's 8 players times 2. And I was trying to help him out and build my list and send it to him, and I couldn't even do that. Like I didn't even have the option to like put in brotherhoods or something like that for the Grey Knights.
Yeah, man. So there's like I think there's still an entire kill team type missing from the app for Deathwatch. Although to be completely transparent, I haven't checked in months.
Yeah.
Because like I don't do builds on that app. That app is not easy to use or fun to scroll through or easy to tell where you are. I mean, Battlescribe has its issues, but like
for sure.
It's a lot easier than the app.
Yeah, just plug it all in, tally it up. But
yeah,
I think let's definitely do this again sometime or whatever. I'll see if I can pull out some TTS or whatever. We can get a game in or whatever.
Okay.
And kind of whatnot. But hopefully next time it's a little more refined.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I mean,
everyone watched.
That's all right.
Kind of like random.
I don't know. I've been thinking about like doing a thing where it's like, you know, we'll just have some drinks and bullshit about like 40K where there is no script at all. We'll just like do it live and folks can ask questions, and then that can start whole conversations, you know, and then we get progressively more drunk.
Yes, that is the 40K that I'm all about. I'd like more, if there's a way to get more engagement from viewers or people watching, like Q&As and stuff like that. You know, I'd love to hear what other people think or what kind of questions are on their mind about the game, or even just, you know, events and that kind of stuff, the hobby in general. So
yeah, I'll try to set that up. I've been thinking about doing an interview or like a little conversation where there's 3 people on as well, me and 2 guests. So I think that would be fun too, to like rip on one on one another. So all right, man.
Okay. Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, dude. Thank you very much. I know it's noon there right now, so you're gonna go have some lunch.
I'm so hungry. That's all I was thinking about for like the last hour. It's like I'm trying to be coherent here, but I'm like, I need a sub sandwich or something like that.
There goes your blood sugar is like super low right now.
Cool, brother. Hey, you have a great day.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much. And for all of you who actually visited, thank you very much. Like you heard just now, we've got some more ideas for some content. So stick around.